What is up, guys? Matt here. Today, we're doing an overview review for which game? Aeon's End. Um, yeah, overview review. It is by Action Phase Games. It is a 1 to 4 player game. Takes a little bit of time, at least an hour, I would say. And it is a deck builder. One of my favorite types of games. Um, You are playing a mage who's trying to defend this city from evil demons and stuff. Um, they come through breaches, and you're trying to use these breaches to cast spells and whatnot, and you're just trying to hold them off, defeat all the demons, save the city, um, and all of the refugees in the city, because things have gone to hell in this game. But yeah, pretty fun game. Um, I'll go over in detail everything that you need to know how to play this game, and then I'll come back and tell you exactly what I think about this game. So, yeah, let's get into it. Okay, guys, so to start off, there's a few things that you could do, but, right off the bat, you might as well just start picking your characters. There are multiple characters that you can pick. I just picked two random ones for this game. As always, setting it up for 2 players. So what you want to do is you want to pick a character, whichever one you think sounds cool. Hey, that has a cool ability. Hey, that guy has a cool special card. I like that guy. I like how this person looks. It's whatever. Um, so there's a bunch of different things going on here. I already have the little tokens on here already. Each player is going to pick a player number, which doesn't really matter. If you're player 1 or 2, there is a turn order deck that you're going to be using, so being player 1 doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be going first. It's all random. So you want to pick one of those. You also want to get 10 health in total. Each player starts off with 10 health. If you look here, this is where your charge tokens will go, and they just look like that, like so. You'll spend. You're going to be spending this game's currency, which is called Ether, in order to get charges for your special ability, which is listed here. Each character does have a different ability, and they don't necessarily all have the same number of charges needed for their ability. Most do, some are different. So for these two characters, they both require 5 charges in order to use their ability. And it shows on here how much it costs to get a charge token. For both of these, it is 2 ether. I think for the most part it is standard across every character that's 2 ether. And then it also has spaces on here where to put your deck and your discard. That's not a huge deal. Doesn't really matter which way you do that. This top part, it shows you your breaches and everything, which I'll get into in a second. I'll move one of these and show you how that's set up. It also tells you your starting hand and your starting deck. So your starting hand is always going to be the same for that specific character. Each character has a different starting hand, but that starting hand for that character will always be the same. So for Mist here, her starting hand will always be 1 Garnet Shard, 3 Crystals, and 1 Spark. So they all have a different starting ability card. Some are gems, some are actual spells. Mist is a gem. The Garnet Shard, it gives her 1 ether or 1 money, or you can cast any player's prep spell, which I'll also be getting into when I start talking about the breaches. The crystals, they're all the same. They all give you 1 money, 1 ether. and then sparks are all the same. They deal 1 damage. They're all just a 1 damage spell. So that is Miss Starting Hand. So you're always going to start off with that. And then, where did I put it? So this one? Yeah, it was. Okay, so then her starting deck is 3 crystals and 2 sparks. So right off the bat, you're gonna know your starting hand and your second hand, not your second starting hand. That does make sense. You're gonna know your starting hand and then your second hand. So that can kind of give you an idea of what you might want to do on your first turn, and then what you might want to do in your second turn. So when, I'll get into that in a second. Let's just move this over here, and I'll show you what's up with the breaches. So each mage has 4 different breaches that they can have. Phaedraxa here, she actually only has 3 breaches. Her first breach here is blank, so she doesn't get 4, she gets 3. But if she did have one, it would look like this. It would always be opened. Both sides are the same. No matter what, the very first number 1 breach is always open. Since she doesn't have that, her second breach is going to be opened instead of closed. And then her third breach is going to look like that. And then her fourth breach is going to be turned that way. So, looking at this, if it's completely yellow, that means it's opened. And then if it's looks like this with the arrow on it, that means it's closed. And then there will be a highlighted spot which way it should be turned. So with an open breach, you can use that to prep a spell. And this is the only way you can cast spells in this game, is through the breaches. So you can prep a spell on here, and when it's on an open breach, you can cast that spell whenever you want. To prep a spell on a closed breach, you're first going to have to focus it. So to focus it, you need to spend 3 ether on this third one. As it goes up for the breach numbers, the ether cost is going to go up by 1, so the fourth one is going to cost 4 to focus. But it costs 3 to focus this one, so you would spend 3 ether to focus it, and then you would just rotate it to the left once, and when you focus it, you are then able to prep a spell on it. But when you prep a spell on a closed breach that you focused, you're going to have to cast that spell on your next turn, no matter what. Open breaches are the only ones that allow you to hold on to your spells for different turns. You can only focus a breach a maximum of 3 times, right? So here it's completely closed. Focus it once, focus it twice, 3 times. Yeah, you can only focus it 3 times, max. And what focusing helps you to do is to open breaches over time for a cheaper cost. If you want to open up a breach right off the bat, like let's say you want to open up this third breach right off the bat, you're going to have to pay 7 ether to open it completely. But let's say, you don't start off with 7 ether at the start of the game. You start off with what? Phaedraxa has 3 ether at the start of the game. So it's going to take you longer to open it, and technically you're going to be spending more ether, but it's ether in smaller amounts over time. So instead of spending the 7, you're going to be spending 9 to open it by just focusing it all the way. And then once you do focus it to this, your only option is to open it. And once you open it, it stays open. For this third and fourth breaches, you get +1 damage on a spell cast. And it's just damage for +1. Nothing else gets +1 with that. So those are very good to open up. Boom. Okay, so that's everything that you need to know with the players, the breaches and everything. So let us move that, and we will set up the stockpile. So setting up the stockpile, it's like a Dominion style deck builder where you have certain piles of cards that you can pick from during the game. To determine that, you can either do it randomly by using these blue bordered cards, or you can do predetermined stockpiles, which I'll be using in this game. There are always going to be 3 gems. You're always going to have, where's that one? There it is. You're always going to have 2 relics, and then 4 spells. Let me move this up a little bit. Moving on up, and 4 spells. Okay, so your stockpile is always going to be like this. 4 spells, 2 relics, 3 gems. Like I said, you can pick randomly from all of them, or you can do predetermined. This is a predetermined deck destroying, card destroying stockpile. It helps you destroy cards in your deck, in your hand, and everything, so you can get to your more important cards faster instead of having all these starter cards that you have that you may not want. You can destroy those. The cost to buy these is in the upper right corner. So the Jade costs 2, Ruby 4, Opal 5. You got 2, 3, 7, 4, 5, and 6. Again, you pay this with your Ether. All the spells, again, the only way to use those is by prepping them on breaches. The relics, they can just be played through the hand. Same with the gems. And they each give you different kinds of things. So we'll move on to the Nemesis. So there are multiple nemesises. There's multiple bad guys that you can choose from. This is the starter boss that you can pick. Their difficulty is really small here on the back side. The lower the number, the easier they are. For some reason it starts at 2. I'm not really sure. Maybe they had plans to make an easier one. I couldn't really tell you. But Rageborn, he is a 2. So he's the easiest. The health for them is right here. Rageborn's health starts at 70. They all have an Unleash ability. They also have instructions if you want to have a harder version of that boss. So let's say you go through all the bosses, even the hardest one, and then you want to do something harder. Maybe you can start all over and do the increased difficulty for all the bosses again. They also have additional rules right here. And each boss, all this stuff is going to be different. On the back side, you're going to have some nice little lore and a setup panel. So for Rageborn setup, you shuffle all the strike cards together and place them face down to form the strike deck. Rageborn gains 1 Fury token. So a Fury token just looks like this. He gets 1 to start off with. And he has his own deck. This is just for Rageborn. No other bosses get this deck. Once he gets a certain number of Rage or Fury tokens, it says down here if he has 4 or more Fury tokens at the end of his turn, he will strike once. So you just take the top of the strike deck, you flip it over, you do what it says, and then move on. Each boss also has their own deck like this. They are numbered through tiers 1 to 3, and how many of each of the tiers is going to change based on the number of players and based on the tier. So the biggest variety you're going to have is with the tier 1 cards, and the less variety you're going to have is with the tier 3. Tier 3 are ones that you're going to be seeing a lot of. You're usually always going to see them. If you do Rageborn multiple times, you're probably always going to see the same tier 3 cards. Let me just bring my numbers over here so I can tell you exactly how many we have of each. So with the basic cards in a 2-player game, you have 3 tier 1 cards, you have 2 tier 5 cards, and you have 7 tier 3 cards. And that 7 for tier 3 is the same across each player. So if you had 4 players, it's still going to be 7. If you have 1 player, it's still going to be 7. Place that back over there. So that's the setup for Rageborn. He has his deck, he has his strike deck, he gets his 1 Fury token, and that is it. Last thing that you need to do is to get the turn order cards. So for a 2-player game, you're going to have 2 player 1 cards, you're going to have 2 player 2 cards, and you're going to have the 2 Nemesis cards. And again, that's going to change based on how many number of players. There's also a wild card that you'll be using in a... Oh, that's just falling. Okay, that's fine. You're going to have a wild card that we'll be using for, let's say, in my gameplay video, we used the wild card in our 3-player game. Yeah, you're going to be having 6 cards. You're going to shuffle them together, and that's going to be your turn order deck. So to start the game off, you're just going to flip the first card over, and whichever card it is who goes first, which is here player 1. Just move that to the side. Move our player 1 over here. Move that. So where's your player? Okay, so here's your starting hand. You can play whatever cards you want. It's best to use on your first turn to use all your cards because you know what your second starting hand is going to be. So you can use these cards however you want. You can prep the spell. You can use this is 4 ether. You can use the 4 ether to buy something. But once you use all your cards, you put them into the discard. But you can put them into the discard in any order that you want. So let's say you really want this, Tourmaline Shard? You really want this? So you're going to be putting that in your discard first. Yeah, you're going to put it face up first. And then, let's say you really want these crystals again. You want more ether, and you care the least about the spark. You're going to put them in that order. And then you get your second hand, you use all these cards. You really want the crystals again, so you put those first and the spark last. When you need to have your deck again, you don't shuffle this, you just take it and you flip it back over, and you draw from there. So this gives you a lot of control over what hands that you can be getting in the future, and it just adds a lot more strategy to the game that way. So you can theoretically set up your 3rd turn hand if you really wanted to. So let us move on here. So did our player 1 hand, we did a bunch of stuff. Something I actually just completely forgot about: health. We have health trackers in this game. So we have health for the Nemesis, which is right here. We got the 70 on here, and we have 30 health for this. This is Gravehold. Gravehold has its own health pool, and if that hits 0, the game's over. Since I'm bringing up how you win and lose the game right now, I guess I'll say every way. There's 2 ways to win, 2 ways to lose. You can win by either getting the Nemesis down to 0 health, or by just getting through their entire deck here. If you get through the entire deck, you're still alive, Gravehold is still alive, no more cards in the deck, you win the game. So you can either burn down the boss or outlast the boss. To lose the game, you either have Gravehold get to 0 health, or every player that's in the game gets to 0 health. Once a player gets to 0 health, they're not necessarily out of the game. If you lose all your health, you are just exhausted throughout the rest of the game. So when you get exhausted, you're going to resolve the Nemesis's Unleash effect twice. So Rageborn's Unleash is he gains a Fury token, so he gets to Unleash twice, so he'll get 2 Fury tokens. And then the exhausted player destroys one of their breaches. It could be any one of the breaches that they want, but when they destroy that breach, they also get rid of, well, they don't get rid, they just discard any spells that they have prepped on that breach. And then they also lose all their charge tokens that they have available. And whenever it comes back to their turn, and throughout the rest of the game, they can't gain any more life. They're always going to be at 0 life. When a card deals damage to the player with the lowest life, which is technically you, because you have 0, it will always deal it to anyone who's not exhausted instead. But if there is damage that they take that they can't avoid, they somehow take damage, they will instead deal that to Gravehold. And it's going to be double the amount that they take. So if they take 2 damage, Gravehold is going to take 4. If they take 10, Gravehold is going to take 20. And any excess damage that they took when... That was my doorbell. Any excess damage that they take when they first become exhausted, let's say they have 1 health and they take 5 health to make them exhausted, that excess damage that they took is going to go straight to Gravehold. So that 4 excess is going to be 8 to Gravehold. So yeah, that's how you win, that's how you can lose. Let's move those back over there. So let's get into Nemesis some more. So you got the strike deck and you have the normal deck. The normal deck is always going to be in the same order, with the tier 1s on top, tier 2s in the middle, and then tier 3s on the bottom. But they are going to be random in which order they come up. So you're always, when you separate them and you get a certain number of basic tier 1 cards for the deck, you're going to shuffle up those tier 1s, and you're going to have them on the top. Do the same with tier 2 and tier 3. And put them in the appropriate order in the deck, of course. So let's say the next one. The next one's going to be player... Oh, wait. Did I already do that? Oh, okay. Well, I thought I set this up so player 2 was second, but I guess I didn't. So, anyways, Nemesis' turn, which I wanted anyways. So in his turn, you're going to flip over the card, and if it is like this card, a power card, the power cards go above him, and they get a certain number of power tokens, depending on which number it has. This has power of 2, so he'll get 2 power tokens on this card. Once it gets to 0 power tokens, then this card will go into play. It's kind of like a spell. It's like the Nemesi's, I really don't know which way it's pronounced, but it's their version of a spell. And so when they get it, they're prepping it, just like how you have to prep it. And once all the power is gone, they're able to use it. This one, he unleashes, and any player discards 3 cards and then draws a card. With these, you can also discard them During your main phase, you can do what it says in order to discard that before it becomes active. For this one, you destroy a card in hand that costs 2 ether or more, which all the starting cards cost 0 ether, so it's going to have to be something that you have bought through the stockpile. So it loses power tokens whenever it comes back to its turn, so when it comes back to its turn again, it'll become 1. So he loses 1, and then he has 1 left. When it comes to his turn again, he's going to lose that 1, and then that card's going to go into effect. So that is power cards. You can also get minions. Minions go up here as well, and they will get their health tokens based on what health they have, which is always going to be in that red circle right there. This one starts off with 6 health, so you give it 6 health in tokens, and they will have an effect listed there. Persistent means that will be happening every turn that the Nemesis goes. So the next time the Nemesis goes, he will unleash. So he'll get a Fury token right off the bat. In order to defeat the minion, you obviously just have to kill it with its health. And then the last kind of card you can get is just a basic attack card. So these happen immediately. You do whatever it says, then its turn is over. Same with these other cards. When they're drawn, you do whatever you need to do. Like, you put 2 power on this, you put health on that, and then their turn's over. With the attack card, you actually do its effect immediately. So Rageborn will unleash with this one, and he'll get a Fury token, and then his turn is over. So yeah, again, with the unleashing, if he gets 4 Fury tokens or more, he will strike. So you turn over the strike card, you do whatever it says. This one, the player with the most open breaches suffers 3 damage. So once he strikes, you put it back in the deck, and then you shuffle it. And then Rageborn loses 3 tokens. And that's pretty much it. That's how you play it. That's how you beat the boss. That's how you lose, possibly. And everything. That's how breaches work. Every single thing that you need to know, you got it right here. So, quick cut. Tell you what I think about this deck building game. Okay, so what do I think of this game? I'll start off by saying I recorded this review, and I think this is a really good game. Right off the bat, rating like an 8 out of 10. The fact that it's a deck builder makes me like it a lot, because I really like deck builders. Cooperative games, I think, are really fun. There's also a plus. The art's really good. The turn order deck is very interesting, and I like how it makes single player and 2-player, it feels a lot more better with that turn order deck. And I like how all the Nemesis and mages, even though I haven't played all of them or played with them, I like how they all feel very unique and different. Just looking at them and the different cards that they have, and just like all the abilities and everything, they feel very unique and different. So I mean, that's a very good thing. I think all games should have that. The stockpile the stockpile setup, I think, is really interesting. And even though I haven't played a stockpile before playing this, I still enjoyed it. It's really different for me because I haven't played it before, but it adds more strategy because you know what cards you can get and everything, which is always good. Another thing that I really think was interesting and awesome was that you can set up what your future hands can be with how you put cards into your discard and everything. That is also a slight downside for me because even though you don't have to play that way, I feel like it might be a little much with trying to optimize your hands and everything, and try to optimize how you put things into the discard. Um, but again, you don't have to play that way, but it might make harder bosses even a little bit more harder if you don't do that. So that was a little bit of a downside for me, but again, I still think it's a really good game despite that. And I think it's a lot of fun to play. And the fact that you can play it by yourself is really awesome, even though I would never play a game by myself unless I'm playing like a single player video game, because I play board games to play with other people. I don't play them to play them by myself. That's not as fun. But yeah, again, overall, I think it's a really good game. Definitely check it out. Uh, Action Phase Games. Check out their page on Board Game Geek, and you can even like check out the Kickstarter and everything too, because a bunch of information will be on there. Yeah, if you like deck building games, if you like cooperative games, definitely check it out. It's tons of fun. You can see if you check out my gameplay video, which will be up soon. And yeah, that is everything to do with my thoughts on this game. Boring end of video things that I hate doing because it's just so much. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, Base Delinquents. Capes and Scowls have Facebook and Twitter. Check them out on there. They have a podcast as well. Check them out on your favorite podcasting application. Again, check out Action Phase Games anywhere. Check them out anywhere. Check out Capes and Scowls website, capesandscowlspodcast.com. I have a Patreon if you would like to support me on there. I throw up uncut videos and such, gameplays and all of those. Anything that I think is entertaining, uncut. And Capes and Scowls also have a Patreon, which you could check out if you would like to support everyone on Capes and Scowls as a whole. And I think that is it. I'm going to say that is it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Take care.